quick, I'd like 2 or 3 questions to tell me what they think branding is and what they think a brand is. So branding and a brand. So
Mariam Denny said, brand is the visual narrative of a company, and branding is creating that narrative. Okay, visual narrative and creating the narrative. Great. Okay, Taiwo said branding is the way you present your company from packaging, logos, and verbiage. Okay, the unwritten character traits of a brand. Okay, brand is an image or representation of what you want the site to know you for. Great. Branding is the sum of what people think, how, know, feel it is about a person, thing, organization. Fantastic. Adideng is saying promotion of a particular product by means of advertising and distinctive design. Great. So we all have amazing perspective. Great. We all have fantastic thinking on what a brand is. What a brand is transcends ephemerals, it transcends visuals, transcends what you say. What a brand isn't much about what you do, it's about how people feel about what you do, right? It is the sum of perception, it's a sum, all right, the gut feeling that people have about a business, about a thing, an idea, right, or a person, right? It is the sum of perception, right? Or you say the gut feeling that people have about a thing, a place, a person, an organization. That's what the brand is. So the brand isn't necessarily what you do, right? The brand is not what you do. The brand is how they feel about what you do. The brand is not about what you say. The brand is about how they feel about what you say, right? It is at the end of the day when they collect everything you are, do, say, right? They collect all that in their minds, their mind factory, right? They are creating a meaning. That meaning that they've assigned your entire expression to is what your brand is, right? It is that like somebody will say that a brand is what people will say about you when you're not in the room, right? It's what people will say about you when you walk out of the room. How the conversation is structured is what your brand is about. So it's not so much about what you say, it's about what people think about who you are. So what then is branding? So branding is the process of telling a true, compelling, and emotive story consistently and cohesively across all touch points. That's what a brand is. So I'm going to say it one more time. It is telling a true, emotive, and compelling story, right? Consistently and cohesively across all touch points. Every word in that definition will be dissected. That's how we would arrive at understanding how to build our brands. Is when we dissect those words, look at them independently, we would understand how to actually build our brands. If branding is telling a story, right, it means that story may be intentional or unintentional, right? Telling that story may be intentional or unintentional. So it now gives us 2 dimensions to brand building, or 2 dimensions to branding, right? 2 perspectives to branding. Perspective number 1 is branding can be default by default, and then perspective number 2, branding can be by design. First, branding by default. Branding by default is that presupposes that everybody owns a brand. Everybody and everything has a brand. Everybody and everything has a brand. Great. It means that for the fact that you saw the flyer for this event, right? For the fact that you saw the flyer for this event, and then you saw my picture on it, you went to the page to register, and then you saw a bit of my profile on it. You had built a perception about me in your mind. Great. That automatically is my brand, right? It is by default. I didn't have to do anything I didn't have to do so much for you to hold a perception about me, right? So by just seeing my picture, there's this thinking in your mind, oh, this guy can let me teach, oh, this guy can, is it tall enough? Is it fine enough? That thinking is there, all right? So you begin to build perception about me by just seeing my picture, right? Now, I didn't have to do so. I didn't have to participate so much in that process. Great. And then when you walk into a room, people size you. People summarize you by just looking at you. Right? This guy is Rye, right? Or this guy is cool, is quiet, all right? In that moment, that's your brand. Whatever they say about you in that moment automatically becomes your brand. But it's unintentional, right? It is not something you have control over. And it is open to multiplicity of meanings. Great. It means that people can now assign whatever meaning they want to assign to you, and you are in no place to control it. I mean, And interestingly, the meaning they assign to you is how they would relate to you, is how they will engage you, is how they will even talk to you, is how they will even buy from you, is how they will even stay on your page, right? Is how they will even communicate to you going forward, right? The meaning they assign to you, great. And there's another approach of design, which of branding, which is branding by design, right? But it's now an intentional process, which is what we focus on today. It is we want to move our entire branding efforts from unintentional to intentional, right? It is that going forward after this class, I want us to be able to have control over the narrative that people carry in their minds. Now, if you're a Nigerian, or you've been around Nigerians for a while, there is a particular saying that's very popular around Nigerians. It is that I don't care about what people say about me. I care about what my God says about me. Great. Or they'll be like, I don't care what you think about me. I care about what I say about myself. Great. So when it comes to building brands intentionally, right? When it comes to building brand intentionally, you actually have to care about what people say about you. You cannot come to the point where you say I don't care. It is not possible. You cannot not care, right? You cannot not care. It is that by every means possible, it has to be something that you have control over. The narrative that people carry, a vast majority carry about you, has to be controlled, has to be constructed. Has to be a narrative that is constructed. So now let's go back to our definition, because we can scaffold from that going forward, right? Number one, I said the branding is telling a true story, all right? So it means that even when you're trying to construct a narrative about who you are, it has to be true. So this is what separates branding from packaging. So many people decide to create a look good personality, a feel good personality, and sell it out there. But at the end of the day, when you engage them beyond that facade, they are bullshit, right? Branding is not showing people what you think they want to see. It's not telling people what you think they want to hear. It's not also doing what you think people want to see you do. It's about doing your truth and saying your truth and being your truth, right? Which is why the journey to building a brand starts from self-awareness, right? Branding starts from understanding what that truth is about you, right? You have to own your truth. You have to own your truth. Now, this is the fun part. For everybody that you see, that seems to be divergent, that seems to be undesirable, that seems to be different from you, there is 1,001 persons who such personality resonates with, right? So you don't have to max your truth to appeal to anybody. In fact, that authenticity means so much to somebody right now. That authenticity means so much to somebody right now. So by the time you lose that truth, and then you create a facade around who you are in building brands consciously or intentionally. In building brands consciously or intentionally, you have to identify your truth first, right? You have to know who you are. You have to be clear about who you are. Because you can only radiate that truth and not a false sense of who you are. By the time you create that process of who you are, there is no more branding, there's not packaging. All right, two different things. Packaging only enhances branding. Packaging, which is making a look good personality, only enhances branding, but it is not branding. To be able to make sense to people, you have to understand your truth, one. Number two, you have to understand what they think about you, right? Because if the perception, which is what people think about you, and the reality, which is what you think about, which is the truth about who you are, doesn't align. If it doesn't align, then the branding has not really happened. If the perception, what people think about you, and the reality of who you are is not aligned, then branding has not really happened. The amazing brand has not really happened. Great. Because if what people think about you and what you are and what you really are is different, if it is different, at the end of the day, you only know your truth. But perception trumps reality. Perception trumps reality. right? Perception always trumps reality. Perception always trumps reality. So if what people think about you is not who you are, at the end of the day, what would be in the public domain, what people would engage you on the basis of what people engage you with would be what they think about you, not what you really are. All right? Which is why I said number one, understand your truth. Number two, make sure your truth is aligned. Make sure your truth is aligned. Because if it's the truth to you and not the truth to them, they own the brand engineering process. Your only job is to construct, is to guide that construction process. They construct, you guide the construction process. So if the construction they have in their minds is not not your truth, it is not your job to align your truth, perception to reality, right? Align perception to reality. Number one, I said branding is telling a true, emotive, and compelling story. All right. Now, take us to the next dimension. Now you have your truth. You've identified your truth. You know who you are. It is clear. This is who I am. This is my personality. This is what I want. This is what people need to know about me. Now, the second question ask yourself is that truth, right? Is it compelling enough? And is it emotive enough? Is it compelling? Would that truth make people take action on my brand? Buy my products, patronize me, recommend me? Is that truth strong enough for that responsibility? Right? So that truth has to be compelling enough. Which is why, if we're honest to ourselves, there are many truths about us. There are multiplicity of truths about us. So at the end of the day, when you lay the entirety of your truth on the table, you want to pick to communicate the truth that is compelling, right? The truth that is compelling, that is emotive enough. At the end of the day, the truth that will make people take action, favorable action, towards your product and your service, and you as a person is what you are focused about. That's what you're concerned about. Cohesively, how do I allow that truth permeate my every living so people begin to identify it and make sense of it? I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So let's say that you're an outlaw, you are a divergent person. That's the truth about you. Great. So now, how do I communicate an outlaw cohesively across all my touch points to ensure that people will understand that I'm a divergent person and not expect me to not be a divergent person? It is now you injecting your truth into your reality, right? Into your daily existence. So the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the places you go, right? The people you hang out with, everything, just everything about you has to align. It is every time you are to do something, you're asking yourself a question: is this divergent enough? You ask yourself a question: is this divergent enough? Because, like I said, you want to be able to pick that truth and feed it into all your channels. Everything that you are has to reflect that truth. So I want to tell you a story. So a couple of years ago, I was to do a photo shoot. I finished selecting the clothes, laid them on the bed, was about going for the shoot for my personal brand. And then I looked at the clothes and I told myself, this is not you. This is not your truth. And if people see the pictures or the video of you online wearing suit and all tied up with pocket square, all tied up and all that, and then they see you at an event with joggers and t-shirts and a sneaker, there's no reality in there. You've just sold a thinking, and that's not your reality. So I just dropped everything. I picked up a shirt, picked up a trouser, and I went out. So people know me to be a very casual dress. I love dressing very casually. No matter if I'm meeting the president, the much I can do is to throw a jacket on it without wearing a tie. I struggle to wear a tie. It's because that's not who I am. Right? So no matter what the industry standard is, it's not who I am. Right? It means that I have to stick with my truth. I have to be able to allow my truth permeate my dressing. Permeate my dressing. The friends I keep, right? The friends I keep, because the truth is, show me your friends, I'll tell you you are. So it has to be very intentional. The friends I keep, I don't care how intelligent you are. If you're not a divergent person like I am, you're not as divergent as I am, you can't be my friend. That's the truth, right? Because I understand that every time people engage any aspect of my life, even when I am not there, right? It has to be able to tell that story of who I am. So you see me basically wearing white, black, and gray. You see me basically, my website is basically black, the entire outlay. My Instagram is basically black, the entire outlay. My all my platforms has that outlay. So I chose black because black was very divergent. It's deep, it's confident, and it's also divergent, right? It's not the popular color. It's not the most acceptable color, right? Great. So I chose the color that I was very sure didn't work when it comes to looking all mushy and all nice and all that. The color doesn't fit into the narrative. So it means that even the color of the clothes I wear in my wardrobe, everything is black, white, and gray. I don't wear colored clothes, never. So when people buy me things, buy me gifts, and they are colored things, I give them out. I mean, I can't do that. I can't wear it because I want people to be sure when they engage me, regardless of where and how. I want them to know that this guy is divergent, he's bold, and he's confident. All right? So I said cohesively. That's what cohesion means. Cohesion is the ability to allow your story, your reality, seep into everything you do. Into everything you do. The kind of post you like on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, the kind of post you like, the kind of comments you drop, the kind of platforms you even drop those comments, right? Reflect it's a wholesome experience. Like I said, the audience create the experience in their mind of what your brand is. Your job is to control it. Is to ensure that this is my truth. And I'm going to guide you to understand that truth, identify it, understand it, and then also say it out to people. So when I'm not in the room, you will say, that guy is very divergent. That guy is very aggressively bold. He's confident. I want you to say that in the room when I'm not there. And so I control that conversation. It's my truth. It's not a truth. It's not a truth. It's not me trying to paint a picture. It is my truth. And so I allow it to permeate everything I do. Because the truth is, most times, when I see the things people like on Instagram, for me, it is more like an endorsement. Right? It is that you endorse it. It is that it's the kind of thing that you would have naturally have done. Right? That's what I believe when it comes to your contributions to people's posts. Comment, likes, shares, things that you're naturally connected to. You know, whatever channel, whatever platform, whatever way, has to be able to capture your truth. It has to capture your truth. It has to capture your truth. Remember, I started by saying that in this environment, you can't say, I don't care what people say about me. No, you cannot do that. You cannot say, I don't care. You have to care what people say about you. If you don't care what people say about you, then you should actually never attend this class in the first place. Right? You should not attend this class in the first place. I know people, I know times where I've gotten to a negotiation table with certain clients, and they expect me to be certain kind of person. I'll stand up and tell them, I cannot be that person. I cannot do that because I'm not that person. And the brand isn't so much about what you put out. It's also about what the things you allow, right? The things that you allow yourself to be shared with, right? So, like I said, number one, your truth has to align with the public truth, which is what people think about you. It has to be compelling and emotive. It has to be cohesive. It has to permeate everything about you. And the next thing is it has to be consistent, right? It is not that today you are perceived to be a very divergent person. Tomorrow you're perceived to be a very lover kind of person, right? It's not that today you're perceived to be an exploitative person, someone who loves to explore, right? Then tomorrow you're a conformist, a laid back person, right? It has to be consistent. Whatever you start to do right now with your personal brand has to be consistent. Whatever truth you're telling cohesively has to be you have to be able to see 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you should be the same person. The same person. The moment people engage you today and tomorrow you're not the same person, you lose equity. The equity is the perception of trust, right? The summary of a brand and how it affects how people trust you and want to work with you, right? By the time you are inconsistent with who you are or who you say you are, right? At the end of the day, you lose trust. Now, let me establish that using the analogy I used initially with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ asked his disciples, "Who do men say I am?" Trying to understand what what the public perception about him is. And then one young man said, "Oh, you are Jesus the Messiah. You are, Son of God and all that." And then he said, that's the only person who identified his truth. And then he said, no other person would have told you this from God, right? So he says that right now, you actually know the truth. This is the truth. People around you should know the truth. And scriptures went further to say that he went about doing good, healing the sick. Went about doing good, healing the sick, and delivering the oppressed and all that. That's what he went about doing all his life. He was consistent about those things because it is in those things that he was doing, those actions, that people would feed off the story of being the Son of God, right? That today we can say the Son of God was because he went as far as doing good, healing the sick, doing whatever. So those things, those activities he was engaged with for those 31 years that he was on earth is definitely why we can now today say the Son of God. Is why we can now build a perception of who he is because of his actions, inactions, silence, and words. Great. So cohesively, consistently across all touch points, which means at this point you now have to identify every touch point that you are associated with, right? Your name, your nickname, whatever it is you have, your colors, the kind of pictures you take, kind of videos you find yourself in, the kind of, there's some places I go to, and not the places I even go to, people who come around and they can't really take pictures with me because I don't want them to take a picture and then post it, and then people are like, oh wow, you know this guy, oh wow, you people are doing things together, and they are not my truth. They're not in the frame of my truth. So respectfully, I can't take pictures with them. It's as clear as that. It sounds very tasking and very too much, but the truth is, at the end of the day, you have to exude who you are. There's this guy Gary V on Instagram. Most of you have met him. I've seen him on Instagram. Gary V. Gary V is a very divergent thinker. He's a very divergent person, right? Being somebody in the public speaking space who uses curse words comfortably, he doesn't care if you're comfortable or not. He has massive events and uses curse word, right? He's even on TikTok. That's what BIDHAAR is telling me right now, which is Choma now. He's just curse. He doesn't care. So in that industry, naturally, you would have people who are very particular about articulation, verbosity, big grammar and all that. But that's not why. The guy is about get the fuck if you're not ready to do the work, right? So he's that kind of person, and that's his truth. And he has allowed the payment, even the way he dresses. He doesn't dress like your regular for a big conference, a massive conference, a much crowd, like a regular public speaker, right? You see him with joggers, you see him out there. Backstage, has a backstage activity showing you his raw side and his rough side, right? He's that kind of personality. He allows his truth permeate every aspect of his life. So number one, identify your truth. Number two, make sure the truth aligns with the reality. Number three, make sure that the truth is compelling enough and is emotive enough. For every type, there's a tribe. For every type, there's some. See, when you exude your truth, naturally, your tribe will gravitate towards you. Naturally, your tribe will find you. The people you have to work with, the people who can connect to your truth, would find you. People who enjoy your authenticity would find you, right? That's the truth. So yes, you shouldn't hide the truth anymore. No more hiding of the truth. So I'm going to take questions going forward. I'm going to take questions now. I don't have time. I'm going to take questions, and you can drop the questions in the comment space. I'll take the questions. Thank you very much. Okay, Joseph, I'm a very aggressive person. I hate nonsense. Okay, I've been very but I've been very diplomatic. Do you mean I should go all out? Great. I mean you should go all out, but ensure that aggressiveness is the most compelling and emotive truth about yourself. Remember I said, there's usually multiplicities of truth about us. So the most compelling and the most emotive is who you should communicate. At the same time, being an aggressive person it doesn't mean being a bullshit person. It's a different thing entirely. I hope you understand that. Being an aggressive person isn't being a bullshit person, right? It is that you have to ensure that your truth, right? Your truth makes sense. Makes sense. I talked about Gary V. Gary V. How does one balance a personal brand with a corporate brand? Great. Let me finish with just that. I'm going to take Victor's question. All right. So Gary V is an aggressive person, but he has managed to mix the aggressiveness with value. So he's not just an aggressive person; he's an aggressive person with so much value, right? So his no-nonsense perspective to life isn't about being an asshole. I'm sorry for using that word. Being an asshole, he is about putting out his value, and making sure that you accept it and believe in it and take it, because that is his value, right? So that truth has to be compelling and emotive. It is that something that beyond just the fact that people have to know it for that truth, it means that people have to do business with you regardless of that truth, right? Good. So Victor, how do you balance a personal brand with a corporate brand? Fine, fantastic question. All right. The truth is, most times when I speak with CEOs of corporations, I discover that who you are most times affects what you create, even your business, right? Who you are most times influences what you create. But at the same time, your business also has its truths. Your business also has its truths based on the business purpose. I'm not talking about corporate brand right now, so I'm looking at personal brand. So I'm going to profane it a bit, right? When you identify your business purpose, why is your business on earth, right? Why are you creating that business? Why does it matter? When you understand the value you bring, you can identify the personality that can push that value, right, for your business. Great. At that point, your job is to communicate the truth of your business, not of yourself. In fact, I am not really a big fan of you know my personal brand, my personal brand, and then you know my business brand. There's usually a little bit of a disconnect. But my business brand is a very simple brand. It's an everyday kind of brand. It's very careful, being there person, concerned about people kind of person and all that. That's what that business brand is, because of the work we're doing with our company, right? Because of the work we're doing with our company, that is who the brand is, right? But for my personal brand, it's a totally different story. Like I said, most times, most founders allow their personal life permeates even their business. Someone like Richard Branson, he's a divergent thinker as a person, and it affects even the idea of his business vision. Donald Trump's personality is out there. We all know his personality, right? He's a carefree person. He's a carefree rebel. And the truth is, regardless of how much of a rebel he is, he has found a tribe around it. You have a sage, which is an intelligent person who is super intelligent. A sage in Obama. You have a rebel, right? A ruler and a rebel in Trump, right? Obama has his tribe. Obama has people who believe that the world should be idealistic. Then there are people who believe in Trump's personality, which is believing in the fact that pragmatism works. It is in this moment. Let's forget about diplomacy. What exactly are we doing? Let's make it happen, right? He has his people. He has his tribe. That's why he could win the election. That's why he's going around making noise, because he has his tribe. There are people who are crazy about his personality, right? The Obama set of people may not buy his personality. To the same way, the Trump people may feel Obama's audience are very soft, are very pulled out from reality and all that. Just type into your Google brand archetypes. You would understand there are about 12 personality types, right? There are 12 personality types. So if you find yourself in one of those personality types, or two or three of them, you can know exactly your truth and how to exude it. You read up anything you can find on brand archetype right now. That should be your first focus, because you're talking about your personality. Go and study about everything you find on brand archetype. It is the foundation of building personal brands. It's the foundation of building strong personal brands. Understanding it will bring focus to that truth you identified already. It will help you put it in perspective, right? Study as you can on brand. So guys, building a personal brand is not rocket science. It's not. It's not so much of a rocket science. It's about identifying. There are many layers to it. Particularly when you are thinking about a corporate brand and how the relationship between person and people, there's so many layers to it. There's conventional brand architecture. There's so much of convention around the multiplicity of ideas in the brandscape, right? But I think this is the fastest and the easiest way for you to actually make sense of a personal brand and then run from there. This many persons would try to make the conversation on branding very complex, and but it's simply about the truth and how you're able to allow it to permeate everything you do, and are able to stick to it constantly over time. Okay, now how does one sustain a personal brand over time? There are three recommendations to that. Number one is you have to be intentional. You have to be conscious. It is that ask yourself the question every time you want to engage anything, you want to buy products, you want to do anything at all. You want to ask yourself, is this whatever enough? Whatever your personal brand is, whatever your personal brand is, great. So is this divergent enough? Is this sage? Is this intelligent enough if you're a sage person? Or is it caring enough if you're if you're a caring brand? Is it caring enough? You want to ask yourself a question every time. So it's intentionality and consciousness. You have to be conscious and you have to be intentional. But two, there's what we call a brand guide, right? There's an idea. There's something we call a brand guide, which is that now I know my truths. I've identified it. I'm going to curate a set of rules that will help me engage. So even in your absence, even when people want to do stuff on behalf of your brand, right? You want to do stuff on behalf of your brand, be able to take that brand guide is a document that's clearly broken down who you are and how you intend to put yourself out there, right? It's a comprehensive document, and it has to be done basically by a brand strategist or somebody who you're sure can articulate the ideas properly into a frame of or a source. Yeah. So that brand guide would help you stay consistent. So every time you take action on your brand, you pull out the brand guide, and then you look out for the reference on that action on the brand guide, and then you employ it. All right. So number one, I said you have to be conscious and intentional. Number two, there's what we call a brand guide. All right. Number three, you can get the brand manager if you want. The brand manager will now pick the brand guide and interpret it. Most times, or most likely, he will just guide you on what to do, per time. So even on the brand guide, there are things like tone of voice, how you sound, what kind of words you use, what kind of words you can never use, can never be caught using, even on social media, even on your comments, even on your comment box, your posts, captions, kind of the words can never be caught using, right? That jeopardizes your personal brand. It's all found in your brand guide most times. So yeah, the last question, and we're done with it. Pictures are very strong. Images, they're very strong when it comes to telling stories. Images, they say picture to the 1,000 can capture 1,000 stories. It's very strong in telling stories, right? So from planning a shoot to executing it and the final product, even the look and feel of the picture, the edit style, right, has to reflect that story about what your brand is. And the truth is, if you can achieve your photography right, in fact, it's most likely will solve a huge part of your brand storytelling problems, right? Photography, videography, everything visual, even as much as a logo, everything visual, right, has a way because people engage us based on accessory channels. People engage us based on accessory channels, right? They engage us by what they see. That's how they judge us more. What they see, what they hear, what they perceive. So even the perfume we carry around, right? The perfume we wear has to carry that story, right? Perfume has to carry that story, and also so what they see is very strong. In fact, it's one of the most strongest aspects of personal branding. The visuals is one of the strongest of personal branding. Even before the words, the things you share, things you say, and how you say them, which affects now what they hear and all that. Is what they see is very solid. So I think one of the most important things you can do for yourself is to actually have a personal brand session when you come to photography and video. So you're able to capture your story, right? Capture your story in an image. People would share the picture, people will use the picture for things. And by then you keep sharing the picture, people are telling stories about you. Great. So guys, I think it's the end of it.